Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Luis Garcia. I am the Executive Director for the Juntos program. Today, I am going to be presenting on Latino services, barriers, and ways we can help. I was going to present with my colleague Ricardo Verdeguez with Northwest Instituto Latino, but he had a last-minute change in plans and was not able to be here today. A little bit about Juntos. We are a community-based organization. We provide harm reduction services. We also provide a lot of flex funds, rent assistance for the Latino community. We meet people where they're at. We provide navigation to treatment, navigation to peer support, any type of recovery support that the person's looking for. We provide these services in a linguistic and culturally specific manner. We also do a lot of education around what services are out there, resources, and just specific information about substances to Latino families and how to access services. In addition to the direct services, Juntos also provides workforce trainings in a collaboration with other Latino organizations because for years we've needed workforce. I think there is an impact right now, and people are seeing the need for workforce, especially culturally specific staff. But in my community, we had this need for years. This had been a need for years. I actually completed my CADC 1 training back in 2001, and it was the first training for culturally specific individuals because it was through MACBA, I remember, and it was to outreach for more Latino counselors. The Latino community is the second largest community in Oregon, and we are the most underserved. Well, this presentation is about, barriers and how to support our Latino community. I can tell you this, I've been in this field since 2001, and initially started working with Morrison Center back in the days before it became Morrison Chandler Family Services. We had the first Latino IOP program for Latino youth, where I kind of got my start, the first one in the state, and also we did a lot of gang prevention back then. The program ran for about 7 years. It never really got any additional funding, even though we had a 70% success rate, and we had no support to continue to offer these services, and the program ended back in 2007. No services, and when something was working, it was defunded. That was the history. For years, there was no specific services. One residential program in Madras that started about maybe 12 years ago through Best Care, who opened the first residential treatment program for Latino men. And to this day, still open. Thankfully, they still are funded, and they continue to help our community. That's just one program for the entire state of Oregon, for the second largest population and growing in the state of Oregon, the Latino community. In Multnomah County, we had the Puentes program, which provided outpatient services, and they've been around for about 13 years. But that was it. We had really nothing for our Latino community, and really nothing for women. If you're a woman today and you need culturally specific services or for substance use, you have none. There's no residential services for Latino women. And housing has created a huge disparity for the Latino community because we really don't qualify for traditional housing. For years, people would go into treatment, those who were able to access those small beds and culturally specific services, or those who would go into traditional treatment programs and then really had nothing when they left the program. They had nowhere to go. A lot of times we're going back to the streets, and because rents were going up, and they had no supports to stay in recovery. They had no place to live. People living on the streets, they don't think about going to treatment or going to meetings. They think about survival. What am I going to eat today? Where am I going to sleep? Those are the survival tactics. How can I stay safe? And so For years, the Latino community didn't have anything nothing around housing until like maybe about 8 years ago, where through one of my mentors, Miguel Tellez, he was working at VOA at the time, Volunteers of America, and he ended up creating a program for Latino men, which was an intensive outpatient program with supportive housing. It was a 6-month program called Latino Home-Based Recovery, or initially the name was Adelante. And it's had great success. That program's still actively going on right now. They are actually expanding the program. It initially started with eight beds, and I think they just actually got a new home and I think went up to 10 or 12 beds. I'm not sure, but it's growing. It's growing because it's a huge need. It's growing because they're fulfilling a gap that's been needed for years, and they get people from all over the state. Again, these programs are not available in different parts of the state. And within the last 9 months, because of Measure 110, we have now 4 transitional housing programs for men and women, 2 through Transcending Hope and 2 through Bridges to Change. These programs are funded through this measure, who a lot of people want to repeal, right? They want to repeal Measure 110, but they don't understand the impact that it's having with the Latino community, services that we've never had before. Even through Juntos, like we've never had access to supportive employment, we've never had access to basic needs. In the past, if you were Latino or Latina person looking for services and you were somehow able to get into a traditional treatment program, a lot of times you were excluded because you didn't have basic needs, because you didn't have like food. I remember having a client at a large organization or a large residential facility who I got called because the residential facility didn't want to pay for a $5 a month medication, and they wanted the client to pay for that, and the client didn't have insurance. And so these are the barriers that our clients were facing and continue to face in traditional residential programs. And because of services like Measure 110, we're able to come in and provide these services or these flex funds to be able to help our clients stay focused and stay connected to recovery supports. So we have also a workforce need, right? And the workforce need has been around for years for the Latino community. We've never had enough counselors, enough mental health therapists, enough doctors that were culturally specific or that spoke our language. And that's not even to say, I'm speaking about Spanish, but that's not even to say about the indigenous languages that the Latino community has. And so not everybody speaks Spanish. We also have indigenous languages, and there's really no services for indigenous Latino communities. And so our community, we have to adapt to be able to get into these services. But even when we try to attempt to go to these services, we get excluded because people don't understand our culture, they don't understand our values, they think we're too loud, they think we just are dumb, we're not educated, and so we get excluded from these services. And then I hear programs saying, well, we offer culturally specific service, but really they're just offering linguistic specific. That means they have counselors or they have personnel that speak Spanish, but they are not from that culture. They don't understand the culture, which is a disservice, because if you think about it, if we were all today speak the same language, many of you may think, well, that would have improved our communication because we would understand each other. It would improve services. If you think about the 2 other most underserved communities in the state, is the African American and the indigenous community, and they both speak English, and they don't have, services that meet their needs. The Native American community in the state has 1 residential program that I know of, which is NARA, and there's no residential services for African American communities. There's none. Language plays a big part in culturally specific services, but culture is a huge part. Understanding the person's culture, speaking the language, understanding their history, changes that dynamic and creates that rapport that we need to work together. to empower one another as community members and to give each other hope that recovery is possible. So these are the things that we don't think about when we talk about culturally specific services, or people in the state, people making decisions say, well, they think about language, but they don't think about culture, and they go hand in hand. You have to have both to be able to have a good culturally specific program. And that is what makes Transcending Hope different. Transcending Hope is a housing program that houses people with mental health disorders and substance use disorders. They are providing housing for Latino women and Latino men. And they do it through Measure 110 funds. Dina, who's the executive director of Transcending Hope, she is Latina herself. She's building these programs with that mindset, the mindset that you need to have culturally specific staff in these programs to call them culturally specific. You need to have linguistic and culture. You need to make sure that the food you're serving represents the people that you're working with. That the supports in place are there, like basic needs, hygiene products, connection to employment services, even non-traditional employment services are important when helping the Latino community. So that's what makes Transcending Hope different, and that's why they're having a lot of success. And they're doing it through Measure 110 funds, which I hear, there's people that want to revoke Measure 110, but they don't understand how that's going to impact, or how drastically that will impact the Latino community, and how that's going to really set us back. It's going to set us back because we're going to lose these programs that are so crucial to our community. We're going to lose these benefits, these things that are keeping our community somewhat stable, because we need more services. And these services are just like a Band-Aid in a way, because we need more than what we have now. As we look at investing in recovery housing, also look at the correlation between the cost. It's much cheaper to have someone who in recovery housing than to pay for somebody's medical bills when they're having to go to the hospital or the ER because of their substance use or mental health. It's cheaper than for someone to go residential, and really also residential services. Not everyone really needs residential services. It's something that if you're in the legal system, it's something that it's like automatically put on your release papers that you need residential service, but not everybody does. Many people do well in intensive outpatient services with housing, because at the end of the day, you need that safety net, you need that support to be able to continue that recovery process. You can look at these programs as carrots, and you think people come here for free housing. People don't come for these things just because they want to take advantage of the system. They actually will benefit from the peer support from the other people that are there in the same journey as they are. Building those support networks have become so crucial in someone's recovery. So it's really important to continue to support these services, especially those who are culturally specific, and other services that we need to continue to support people in recovery, people in mental health. Is we need stabilization programs, houses that can stabilize someone in between these services, someone that can come in from the streets and be able to be housed in a stabilization program where they're able to learn what recovery looks like. It doesn't have to be clean and sober. It's housing first. It's like a housing first model, but you're teaching the people living in these homes some skills so that they can start thinking about what the recovery looks like for them. For our community, these additional support services are life-saving, and many of us end up giving back. I know through Juntos we do trainings, and these trainings, a lot of times we end up training our own clients, and those become the next peers and counselors and those are the ones that end up giving back to the community, and that's another way to create a workforce. You're looking at a workforce, look at your clients, look at the people you're serving, and look at those who are completing your program, who are motivated to give back, and those are the ones that are gonna And that's how you're going to create your workforce, by the people that come through your programs, but the people you are already training in a way, because you are helping them recover. And so that is one way that you can create a culturally specific workforce. Continue to fund these programs, especially if they're working. You know, like I said before, I worked in programs that were working, and they were never funded to continue, and they were having great success. We're having success now. We need more services. Continue to support these services. Even if Measure 110 it's repealed, we need to find other ways, other funds to continue to support these valuable services for our Latino community. And if you don't believe me, before I go today, I want to share a video that we did with Transcending Hope, so that you guys can see firsthand how these services are impacting our community. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. Again, my name is Jose Luis Garcia, Executive Director for the Juntos program. If you need to get a hold of me, my information will be on the conference information. Thank you again. Thank you for your time.